Alright, what's up guys? Now, here's the thing. I'm not doing this video to, I guess, spread hate to Star Citizen. I just want the development process to be sped up. Because there should be no reason why a video game should be in development for now 13 years. Alright, we are in the year 2025. This game went into development. Hold on for a second. Do I still have its wiki? Because I opened up a bunch of different pages. Because this is going to probably be a long video. Because there are a lot of things I need to talk on with this game. And to me, it just, like I said, it don't make sense for a video game to be in development for as long as it's been in development. There's like, game was announced in 2020 or 2012. And let's see the development development. Star Citizen is under development by Cloud Imperium Games, a studio founded by Chris Roberts, Sandy Roberts, and Ortwin Freyermuth in 2012. All right, so I'm assuming that the game went into production, pre-production of Star Citizen. It actually, no, 2010, with production starting in 2011 using CryEngine 3. So this game was in pre-production in 2010. So technically, it's been 15 years since this game's been on production. That's something that I didn't know. I thought, just seeing it around, I thought the game went into production in 2012. But yeah, I guess it was a couple of years before that. But my thing is this. There have been a lot of video games to come out over the time, meaning, like, and there's just one game series that I can think of is Red Dead Redemption 2010. That's when they released one. 8 years later, they released two. So you mean to tell me that Rockstar Games can release two? And yeah, it might not be complex, big games like Star Citizen, but I have to say Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, that was probably some of the most detailed video games that I've ever played. Now, I've played a lot of different detailed video games, but Red Dead Redemption, I have to say that's the game where I'm like, they really captured the atmosphere of what it was like back in them days. Now, my thing is this. They also made sure of it that gamers are going to be having fun with the game. Game wasn't buggy. Game wasn't glitchy. There wasn't no times where my horse just randomly exploded. I'm trying to think. The only thing that I can think of that my horse did, and I was actually more so amazed that they managed to do that and pull it off, because it was something that wasn't done in the first one. But yeah, my horse would be running, and I remember I was chasing somebody in the game, and the character NPC threw down a haystack, and my horse tripped over it. Now, most people would be mad about that. I'm sitting there like, how did they do that? How did they manage to capture that in the game? Now, I'm not saying that the developers didn't capture the space atmosphere, but I imagine if the stuff that was going on in Star Citizen was actually happening, we wouldn't discover no planets. We wouldn't discover absolutely nothing. Space, NASA, all that stuff. It wouldn't be well, not so much as space, but as far as NASA, if they were making the mistakes that the people were making in Star Citizen, then yeah, it's like we wouldn't have we wouldn't have been landing on the moon or doing a bunch of other different stuff up in space. You know, it wouldn't be no space movies, none of that, because there'd be people, a lot of us would be, if not all of us, that does try to travel to space, yeah, we would most likely be dead if it had like the bugs and problems. So my thing is this. To the developers behind Star Citizen, if you're going to capture that simulation of flying off up into space from wherever, just make sure it's not buggy, all right? And I know there's people going to be trying to defend that. I'm like, you can think of, there's so many different video games that I know about that's been in early access for some time. And I'm like, I ain't seen no bugs like that. I'm like, that's something where I'm like, look, bruh, you would think that Star Citizen came out, or I guess last year, since it's the first day of the year and things. But I'm like, that to me, I'm like, and the crazy thing about it is like, how long has this game been in this pre-alpha stage? It shouldn't take years for a game to be in pre-alpha. Then, like, no, you guys should be nearing the end portion of the development and stuff of this game. But I'm like, I feel like where this game is at, it's most likely, I don't see this game releasing no time soon. Because I know people have been saying, oh, the game's supposed to release in 2026. I don't see that happening unless they release some groundbreaking updates to fix the game. You know, and it trips me out that I recommend the idea of offline mode being added into Star Citizen, and people are trying to get on me about that, saying, oh, offline mode ain't gonna work, PCs can't run that, they can't do that. I'm like, maybe your PC can't run that, but my PC, on the other hand, I done played a lot of different video games out there that have an offline mode. So I'm just trying to figure it out, how do people know about, because I had asked Chat GPT that, like, what so I was like, what kind of PC would a person need to run an offline mode of Star Citizen? Now, before I get into like the specs that a person would need, so I remember looking that up because there was I guess at one point in time there was a mod for an offline mode for Star Citizen, and I guess the developers for some reason decided to come out with a patch to ban that mod from the game or something. And I'm thinking to myself, so people do want this. It ain't just me that want this. There are other people that want this. So my thing is this, before you comment on this video talking about, oh, why offline mode shouldn't work or it wouldn't work and things, you can try telling that to everybody else, because there's many people out there, and I'm like, fam, I don't know how an offline mode, if I'm just trying to play the game and you put me off in my own server, how is that going to mess the game up? That's what I'm trying to figure out. And if it does mess my PC up, then that's just something that I'm going to have to risk. But I'm like, my thing is this, I would rather risk that than to have a game where I'm like, I can't even play it, where it's like, I gotta wait. My thing is this, there are so many different MMO type games out there and stuff, and just even, let's open up Steam, because I do have Steam open. Let's just see some MMO games that exist in the world. Where is it? Okay, here we go. So, do you think, because, all right, so they got the one MMO game, that's like one of the latest ones to come out, but it's an extraction shooter game called Gray Zone Warfare. When I played that, I don't remember having to wait after, because I think there was somebody that commented underneath the video where I was talking about an offline mode, and they said that they were queued behind like 384 players. Now, for me, the highest that it got to was 155. When I played Gray Zone Warfare, I was instantly into the game. So that's why I'm like, and it's a MMO. They do have like its PvP and PvE options in there and stuff. So they do give you a choice of whatever mode you want to play. But my thing is this, Gray Zone Warfare was a big game that came out last year. And I remember like when I got into it, the game, it was buggy and glitchy and all that stuff. But overall though, I was still able to get into the game. Let's see some other games. Fallout 76. I remember playing that game when it very first came out. I didn't have no issues getting into the game. Scum, I played that game, didn't have no issues getting into it. Dead Side, didn't have no issues getting into it. Battle Bit Remastered, no issues. The Crew 2, no issues. Let's just see some, okay, they don't really have like no other space games and stuff that I can that I've played, but anyways, let's just see Delta Force, didn't have no issues with that. Let's see top selling games. War Thunder, I never had issues getting into a War Thunder. I'm liking that. I had to say I've been playing that game a lot longer than any other game that PC game that I've been playing. But Rust, what else? DayZ, let's see, that was the top sellers. Top rated. I don't remember ever playing Fishing Planet, but I guess that's in my library. I don't remember playing it, but anyways, I'm like, there's a lot of different, I wish they just had like a section of the games that I own, but I'm like, I've never had a issue getting into I guess they consider that MMO game too. Overdrift Festival. Let's see, Test Drive Unlimited, Solar Crown. That's a game that I've been extremely critical on and stuff. But anyways, thinking of the Crew Motorfest. I'm trying to think of some other MMO games out there. But I done played quite a few MMO games. I'm like, I ain't never had no issues before getting into the servers and stuff. Star Citizen is the only game where I done had to, they talking about I gotta wait after 155 players. And I'm like, my thing is this, do you think when most people are playing the video game, do you think they trying to wait in line to play that video game? I get if that game is releasing, but my thing is this, if this game's been out for like, when did Star Citizen come out? Okay, there we go. Let's just see. Launch was originally anticipated for 2014, pretty delayed. They don't say like when exactly the game came out. I'm like, I wish they had just, okay, hold on, maybe it's after the initial Kickstarter ended, Cloud Imperial Games continued to raise funds through the sales of ships and other in-game content. I feel like where this game is at, you guys shouldn't be asking for an extra amount of money, because I think I seen that somewhere. You guys made over $700 million for this game. You don't need no more money. Star Citizen monetization models have led to further criticism and legal issues for the project. So I'm not the only one that's saying this. That's the funny thing, that all this stuff that I am going to say in this video and the things that I've said perhaps past previously before about Star Citizen has been stuff that other people have said too. So I'm not the only one that's talking on this. But anyways, but then it goes on to say is noted for being one of the highest funded crowdfunding projects, having raised over $170 million by December 2017 when it released in early access. Okay, so the game came out in December 2017, and I'm like, fam, that's just crazy to me, because I'm like, this game, I didn't see where video games, like, again, not as complex as Star Citizen, but they came out long before that or even after. But it's like there's usually it's not in early access for that long. You know, it's not in no pre-alpha stage. Usually by then, I think the only other game that I've seen in early access for a long period of time, but I feel like that they added everything that they need to add, and I don't think that game has like no DLCs. And that's another MMO that I played. But 7 Days to Die. Let's just see. I don't think they have the only DLC that they have for this game is a soundtrack. Other than that, they have like it's like a includes level editor. So I was about to say, I thought they might have like a workshop or something, but yeah, that's the only other game that I can think of that's been in early access for a long period of time. Yeah, it was in early access for nearly 11 years and things. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I'm like, but the game, it was finished. It wasn't, like I said, they wasn't charging you, because I think people be saying that about Star Citizen, that they be charging a lot for the spaceships in there, and I'm like, I think let me see what was the most expensive spaceship in Star Citizen. What is the most expensive ship in Star Citizen? It's funny how like that's some of the first few things that pop up when I look it up and things. So other people have looked at into this too. The most expensive package, the 2023 Legatus pack, Legatus 2953, costs $48,000. It can be bought using store credit, allowing players to melt their existing fleet to reduce the overall cost. So $48,000 for something involved in a video game. I'm like, fam, I'd rather go out and get a car for $48,000. That better be like in-game money. That better, because I know they do say store credit. I'm like, you better be talking about the money in the game, like that being. But like my own actual $48,000, I'm not gonna put that into a video game. You guys done made $700 million. My thing is this, and that's something where I'm all like, I guess it's a concern for me, is that when this Squadron 42 game comes out, is that going to be something that I also have to buy, or is that going to come along with Star Citizen? It's just going to be an update, because I would recommend where you guys is currently at right now, that should be the route for Squadron 42. That it doesn't need to be like its own separate thing. Like, no, that needs to come along with Star Citizen. It's just a mode that we can play, because you know that there are a lot of people out there, because that's something where it's like you can look up Star Citizen offline, and there's so many different people that talk about that Star Citizen offline mode. Let's just see. Yeah, like going throughout years, even back in 2017, around the time when the game had came out and stuff. So yeah, it's like you got from there 2021, 2022, last year. I'm saying there's a lot of people that talk about that. I'm not the only one that's talking about that. You got where there's people doing mods. I'm saying like it's something where it's like you guys should consider adding into the game. And I'm like, but no, so that's overall what I wanted to talk on was what PC specs would you need to run an offline mode. So I asked ChatGPT. ChatGPT said running Star Citizen offline, if it has such mode, would still require a powerful PC, as the game is highly demanding due to its detailed graphics, large-scale environments, and resource intensive simulation. Here's a breakdown of the kind of PC you need for optimal experience. So processor, a minimum of an AMD Ryzen 5 3600 or an Intel Core i5 9600K. Recommended AMD Ryzen 7 5800X / Intel Core i7 12700 or better graphics card. NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1660 Super or AMD Radeon RX 5600 XT. And then that's minimum recommended NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 AMD Radeon RX 6800 or higher for 4K gameplay. Aim for an RTX 4080 or equivalent. And I don't think most people are going to be running the game. I think if any, because I don't know, like, most people, I think they go for a lower resolution so they could get more frame rate. Because I don't think like all 4K monitors can run at a like 4K and then like 120 or 240. I know with me, it's like I keep mine at 2K and it runs at 145 like FPS and things. So yeah, it's like overall though, like I don't think most people are going to be playing it at that, but I guess there is that option and things. But anyways, and then the RAM, you need 16, a minimum of 16 gigabytes DDR4, recommended 32 gigabytes DDR4 or 5 if you're multitasking or modding. And I know for me, I have 64 gigabytes, so I know what like RAM, I wouldn't have to trip about that. Storage, minimum 1 terabyte SSD with at least 150 gigabytes free for the game itself. And I'm saying, you got where there's Call of Duty. I have to say the only other game that I can think of where it would run up that much space is Call of Duty, because I'm like, they have it where you will have to install Black Ops 6, Modern Warfare 3, 2, 1, Black Ops Cold War, and Vanguard. And I'm like, you got all those Call of Duties together on one big giant file with multiple. Yeah, so I'm like, people saying that the game wouldn't be able to run on a modern PC. I'm like, fam, I'm like, have you talked to the Call of Duty community? I'm like, yeah, we were at one point in time playing a game that never took up no space on our computers or consoles. And now it's like, there's at times where if I am trying to play Call of Duty, I'm having, at least because I have it installed on my PC, so I don't have to worry about it. But at least I just remember the times when I would have it on my console. I'm over here having to delete other games just so I can make some space for Call of Duty. But that's the thing about it, though. It never had no bugs or issues that was going to prevent me from playing the game. It's like I'm trying to think. Well, actually, no, I take that back. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. All right, but I just think that that's just, due to Activision. At least they fixed it in the future Call of Duty games. But yeah, I remember with the new Modern Warfare 2, that game did have issues. And I think a lot of people did see that and stuff. And that's what put them in a bad situation. Because somebody I was talking on that, where is that why haven't they added, or like they could add it, but I don't know, maybe they're like, but no, that was the thing that somebody said, because I brought it up that why Star Citizen isn't added on Steam, and I overall believe that is because they don't want nobody to give their game bad reviews. But I'm like, okay, if you guys where a video game's been in development for 15 years and you guys are still in the pre-alpha, it's like, yeah, people are gonna give your guys it. I mean, even outside of Steam, it's like still you have it where there's people out there. At least for me, when I do videos on Star Citizen, and I had to say just about almost every time when I talked on the game, there has been somebody that's been upset with their just overall their experience with the game. So, but I just know for a fact that if they were to add the game into Steam, or if it were to have like a console release, most likely it never will have a console release. But yeah, the game will most likely have bad ratings right now. If somebody was trying to bring that up, like, oh, they don't need the money to add the game on Steam, they made all this money. I'm like, okay, well then why is the game still in early access? Why is the game still in development? If they made all this money, then I'm like, okay, everybody that's working on the game should be paid off. Why haven't we gotten a fully functional working video game? But anyways, but overall, getting back to the tech specs. So, for storage, it was like 1 terabyte SSD with at least 150 gigabytes itself for the game, and then 2 terabyte NVMe SSD, for faster loading speeds and amplest space. Operating system, of course, Windows 10 or 11. Additional recommendations: cooling a high-end CPU or GPU will need effective cooling, especially if you're overclocking. PSU, a 750W power supply or higher to handle power demandings from high-end components. Monitor, a high refresh rate monitor, 144 hertz or higher. That's something that I have if you want a smoother experience, particularly for dogfights and fast-paced gameplay. If you're running the game offline, you wouldn't have to worry about server-side performance issues, but the system requirement would remain the same due to the game's technical demands. So there wouldn't really be no difference. I think it was, all right, so would the specs be different if I were to continue playing the game online. Let's just see. If you play Star Citizen Online, the hardware requirement don't drastically change because the game's performance is still primarily dependent on your local PC. However, playing online introduces additional factors such as network latency and server synchronization, which don't rely as much on your hardware but on your internet connection. Here's how the specs are considered differ. So yeah, it does. So like that's really, so there's like internet connection. I have to say that's the only thing that changes if you're playing it offline and stuff. So I guess and just, yeah, what pretty much what they said, it doesn't drastically change. It's just adding a couple of things, but there's like CPU unchanged, GPU unchanged, RAM unchanged, storage unchanged, latency driven concerns, so that changes up. Practical additional for online play. So yeah, it's just pretty much, it's like your internet is going to be the only thing affected if you do play the game online. And I'm like, yeah, I think everybody knows that. And I'm like, you know, there's at times where I am playing in the server where I'm like, okay, it might be a decent server to play in, but at the same time, again, talking on video games I have played before, because I know the crew too in Motorfest, they plan on adding an offline mode, and I do plan on seeing, but it's like, when you play a game, because I think of it like a single player game, because no, actually a video game that I can think of right now that has an offline mode and it's in the same exact field as Star Citizen is Elite Dangerous. I have not had one issue in Elite Dangerous. That's an old game too. So that's why I'm just saying, it's like people are trying to say that, you know, oh, Star Citizen, nobody's PC would be able to run that. But I'm like, fam, I have literally played another complex game, because I'm like, let's just see between the two games, which is, because I imagine, yeah, Star Citizen, it probably is going to be a little bit bigger, but which is a bigger game? Star Citizen or Elite Dangerous? There's the one game, whatchamacallit, Starfield too. In terms of sheer scale and ambition, Star Citizen is considered a bigger game compared to Elite Dangerous, as it aims for a much more detailed and expansive universe with a wider variety of gameplay mechanics, although Elite Dangerous boasts a fully fledged 1/1 scale representation of the Milky Way galaxy, which is already quite large. So yeah, it's like, in my opinion, both games are roughly the same, because I'm like, I played Elite Dangerous and I'm like, yeah, that's a game where I'm like, you know, I have to say, like, it's probably not as complex, but I have to say that they do get their stuff down, you know, compared to Star Citizen. But even talking on that offline mode or the solo play, I'm like, yeah, I haven't had no issues playing that. I'm like, if anything, it's the only issue I'll have to say is just remembering the controls and stuff. Other than that, I'm like, I haven't had no issues playing that game offline. And I'm like, and I think Elite Dangerous, I think that game came out after. I wonder if that game was in early access when it had originally released. Let's just see. And the game is cheap too. You actually could get the game for $4.99. And then there's the I think the deluxe one that comes with that Odyssey mode, which is kind of like, it adds like that first person like perspective of you running around and shooting. So it does kind of have like its Star Citizen gameplay. But that game came out in 2015. Did it have like an early access thing? No, I don't think it did. It just says release date 2015. So at least for them, it's like, yeah, they had their stuff together when they released that game. It wasn't on no stuff where it's like, oh, well, let's put the game in early access right now and let's not finish it up until 15, 16 years from now. I'm like, nah, to me, it's like, you look at a lot of different early access games, that's not normal. That's not a thing, you know, and I know people try to defend that, but I'm like, you name. So no, actually, I had looked that up. Where did I have that at? Hold on for a second. Let me, because there's like a bunch of different things I have open. Because I was like, no, there are a lot of different stuff that I want to talk on. So I had looked this up. This was a question I asked on Google. I was like, which video game was in early access the longest? Star Citizen is the only game that, or yeah, it pops up. But there is like the only other game that's been in early access for multiple years is Kerbal Space Program and DayZ. Then they list off Rust, Project Zomboid, and then yeah, but there's like remains in early access indefinitely. But I'm all like, but all the other games, they were in early access and then at some point in time left early access. So and I'm like, the thing is this, I don't think DayZ made no $700 million. I don't think Kerbal Space Program made no $700 million. Same with Project Zomboid and Rust. Popular games, you know, but let's just overall see how much money has DayZ made since its release? 800. Oh, it actually made more, but there's like, out of this, the developer has estimated net revenue of $237 million. So throughout the time frame, I think that's what they're talking on. The game has made $803 million. But I'm like, but the thing is this though, it's a fully functional working game. The game done. I'm like, but and it's like not a game that's in early access. So I'm like, I'm trying to think like of a game, another game that's been in, or it's like in early access, because I don't think there really isn't no other game that's been, because I'm like, yeah, just about every game that I can think of, it's like it's out of early access, you know. But and I was like 7 Days to Die, I'm like, yeah, I think that left out of early access, what was it, like 2 or 3 years ago or something like that. So I'm like, either it was like between 2 to 4 years ago. So I'm like, DayZ, or no, not DayZ, 7 Days to Die, talking on, because I'm like, I wonder how much money that game has made. How much money has 7 Days to Die made? Let's just see. Roughly $200 million. So overall, though, the point that I'm trying to make is that this game, it's been in early access for a long period of time, right? But they managed with just $200 million. That's how much money they made throughout this game. And I'm like, I imagine there's still people going out and buying this game. But that's it. That's all that they made. You guys made $500 million more. And you mean to tell me that the game is still in early access? Where is that money going to? Because that's what I would like to know. You know, there's companies out there, I feel like they making far less, but it's like they're giving us a full game. There ain't no such, I don't know. I just find that very, very hard to believe. And that's another thing that I had looked up too, that I had seen, that was like, because I opened up a bunch of different stuff with this. But anyways, what's this? I don't know what that is. I think that was something I opened up by accident. But anyways, how many employees does Cloud Imperium Games have? So I know it ain't gonna be like all of the employees is working on the game, but I imagine you got like a decent amount of people working on that game. But you guys have around 1,300 employees. All right, so let's just see how many people worked on Star Citizen. Just curious. Over 1,000 people working on making the game a reality. So over 1,000 people. So everybody else is like, what, you know, just Cloud Imperium added 440 employees in 2023. And you mean to tell me it's like you guys still can't get this game finished? Like, that's something where I'm like, that's, you know, the stuff that I'm talking on, it's like, I want answers to it, not from the fans, because I feel like the fans, you guys already got your mind made up, you're going to defend this game regardless, but I'm like, no, I want answers from the developers, because I'm like, the fans, of course, they're going to be the yes men, they're going to say every positive thing that they can possibly say about the game, but no, I want actual facts, people that are actually working on the game, talking on the developers and stuff, because I'm like, to me, that just don't even make any sense, where it's like, you got over 1,000 people working on that game. Meanwhile, I think the one game, Spaceborne 2, that's another space simulator that I can think of, where there is only one person that worked on that game. And yeah, it was like, it's I wouldn't say it's on the same scale as Star Citizen, but I'm like, fam, I'm like, that to me, I had to say, for one person to work on that, that's a pretty detailed game. Yes, that game's in early access, and I think that game, but it's only been in early access for what, like a couple of years or something like that? Where is that game at? I got like a lot of games installed. Hold on for a second. Spaceborne 2, that game's been in early access since 2023, February 17th, 2023. So my thing is this, and the guy, he just came out with a update yesterday. So it's like the guy, he's still working on it, still trying to make sure it's a good game and things. But it's all like, that's another, like I said, that's another space sim where I'm like, okay, you know, there should be pretty much, I'm saying there should be no excuses. If you got where one developer can come out with a space sim, I think over 1,000 people could have came out with a space simulator a long time ago. All right. So anyways, I'm like, I ain't hearing it where it's like, oh, we ain't got enough workers or whatever and things. And they say the development team of Star Citizen consists of over 1,000 people working on making the game a reality and distributed development process from the West Coast of the United States to Frankfurt, Germany. Highly skilled, passionate people toil, making breathtaking progress all the time. And I wonder how many people worked on, let's just overall see, because there was a bunch of video games that popped up. Starfield. 250 developers worked on that game, and I have to say that's another complex space sim. Let's see another game. Baldur's Gate 3. That was probably one of the biggest games. What was it, last year or 2 years ago? But 470 employees, and they managed to come out with a fully functional working video game. Same with Starfield. But anyways, Red Dead Redemption. Okay, so there was like around 2,000 people did Red Dead Redemption 2, and it took them from the first one, it was 8 years. So I'm like, you mean to tell me that it's like these guys worked on the game less than you've been working on Star Citizen, but they managed to come out with a video game, and it being probably one of the best games. And I'm just curious to see what Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to be like. I have to say that's going to probably be the game that the only other game that I can think of being a much more fully functional, fully developed, detailed video game than Red Dead Redemption 2. Because I don't think Rockstar, they do that. I'm like, I mean, if they were, I feel like they wouldn't be no problem if they were to release Grand Theft Auto 6 in early access, because I feel like that they would give us they wouldn't be no pre-alpha video game. Pretty much they would have given us a good percentage of that game before they decided to release it and things. But anyways, what about Grand Theft Auto 5? All right, approximately 1,000 people worked on that game, and it was fully developed when it came out. Skyrim, a team of roughly 100 people, and that's another video game. You didn't see that game released numerous times, so I consider that a big game too. But I'm like, fam, it's stuff like that where I'm like, you're gonna have to explain it to me. How does a game be in early access for 15 years and it's only in pre-alpha? That don't make no sense to me. But anyways, Space Engineers. All right, so no, there were some other games that I wanted to look up how many people work, and they're coming out with another one worked on Space Engineer. How many people worked on the game? There are roughly 15 people working on that game right now. So yeah, there's like 30 volunteers for pre-release tests. So it was just like people that just was testing the game out. So there was that game. What about, so let me exit out of that. What about Astroneer? All right, and that's another, it's a somewhat of a space game, but I'm like, all right, I'll consider it a space game. But anyways, there's like, let's see how many people, they don't even say how many people worked on that game, but I played that game and I was like, I don't think it couldn't have been no 1,000 people, but that was a video game that was fully functional and working when it came out. All right, so what's the next game? Let's just see. No Man's Sky. Now, if there's any game that's gonna be bigger than Star, I wonder between them two which game is bigger. No, there ain't no way. There's like, the project expanded to 4 people before its announcement. As it developed, the team grew to the size of 17 people. So 17 people, and I'll admit, when No Man's Sky, when it came out, it was in a pretty bad state. I was like, yeah, that game. But I have to say, where this game is at right now, yeah, it's one of those games where I'm like, nah, bruh, they managed to do good for themselves. But anyways, let's just see between them two games, which game is bigger, No Man's Sky or No Man's Sky? What does that even mean? All right, No Man's Sky or Star Citizen. Searching, generating. No Man's Sky is larger than Star Citizen, and I'm like, in terms of the number of planets and galaxies it contains. So I'm like, yeah, and there's like, I wonder what is this space, because that's a game, like at least how much, and that I think you can play that game. At least when the game had came out, I remember it was a offline game, and then they did add multiplayer, so they went in the opposite direction of whatchamacallit, Star Citizen. But how much space would that game take? And I think I remember when I played that game, I didn't have no issues playing it offline from when it originally came out all the way up until now. But 19 gigabytes. I'm like, 19 gigabytes, and that's with the offline mode. So that's why I'm like, fam, I'm not, people that be wanting to talk on that, I'm like, I ain't trying to hear that. But anyways, yeah, it's like, I will say that, you know, between the two games, Star Citizen is a little bit more detailed, but I'm like, fam, I think overall, when you ask a gamer, what do you overall want? The most detailed video game of all time, or a game that you can have fun with? Most gamers is gonna say both. But I think in reality, yes, somebody's gonna want a video game that they can have fun with, not a game it's detailed, but you can't even enjoy it how detailed it is because the game is all buggy, glitched out, and broken. So, anyways, let's see what other stuff. X4 Foundation. I'm like, all right, so how many people, where's that Google? All right, so how many people worked on? And that's a game where I'm like, I ain't got no good things to say about it, but it's on that same scale. Work, size of dev team. Currently, EgoSoft has 5 full-team employees and about 10 external developers. So 15 people are working on X4 Foundation. So I'm like, I'm just, overall, the point that I'm trying to make is that there's people out there with a lot less, but they're managing to come out with full video games and stuff. So I'm like, fam, just something ain't making sense to me, you know? But anyways, Elite Dangerous. Did I look up Elite Dangerous already? I just maybe should have did this video in parts. I was thinking about that, but I was like, nah, let me just hurry up and just try to do the whole thing right now. But I mean, that's a Elite Dangerous. How big is the development team? We've averaged around 100 developers working on the project with a peak of around 140. All right, so it's like you have it where it's all like there's far less than that, but I had to say that's probably the only other. It's between X4 Foundation, Elite Dangerous, and Star Citizen. And I'm like, fam, with them two games combined, hold on for a second. And I'm like, if we just talking on the price of them two games, all right, so X4 Foundation, you could get that game right now for $14.99 while it's on sale. How long is it going to be on sale? They don't even have like a date thing of when but outside of the sale, it's $49.99. And then Elite Dangerous, it was $4.99 while it's on sale. And then to be able to get the like the Odyssey thing, so the deluxe edition, it's like $17. So you could get both of these games, get a much more bigger experience with both of those games. And it's like with Star Citizen, they've been charging $40 for that game. And it's like, yeah, X4, they do have like a lot of different DLCs with the game, but I imagine they're probably like, oh, it's gonna cost you $1,000. Don't they Star Citizen has like a spaceship that costs like $1,000 on the game or something like that. Meanwhile, with Elite Dangerous and X4, it's like, look, if you buy the game and buy the DLCs, if you make enough money within the game, you don't have to give us no $1,000 to and it's like, even with the most expensive bundle pack that they have the X Universe Anniversary Collection, which comes with, like, I'm pretty sure it's gonna probably be all the different X video games along with the DLCs too, and that's $380. So it's like you get a video game series. Excuse me, you get a whole video game series with a bunch of different content, stories, all that stuff, and that's only $380. And then it's like with Star Citizen, it's like just to get a spaceship in there, it costs $1,000. What seems more reasonable? You know, you honestly have to sit down, like, just talking to them fans that's gonna try to defend Star Citizen. It's like, what sounds more reasonable? If there's gonna be anything that you talk about or answer, just please answer that. What sounds more reasonable? Spending $380 on a whole video game series, or spending $1,000 on a spaceship? And it's like, and then what's crazy is do you get to permanently keep that spaceship? Like, if it's a situation where you get to permanently keep that spaceship, and it's the best spaceship in the game, and there's no other enemies that can take you out, like, that's the ultimate spaceship. Like, there is nothing that a person can do to you in that spaceship. They can shoot a whole nuke at you, but the thing is this, that spaceship's gonna still be intact. If anything, it does like 1% damage, and it regenerates its health. But if it ain't doing that, and that spaceship can easily blow up, and I'm having to spend another $1,000, yeah, I'm pretty sure they do have like that whole insurance thing. But I'm like, nah, bro, if I spend $1,000 on a spaceship in a video game, that better be like a permanent, non-damaged spaceship. But I'm like, to me, that just don't make sense. Where it's like you have a spaceship that costs $1,000, but then you have and then even to just get X4, like all the different DLCs, I think with it. It's yeah, it's only $124 and stuff. So it's like, to me, it just sounds like, even though I'm not that much of a fan of X4, it's like that sounds more reasonable than spending $1,000 on a spaceship. I'm just saying. But anyways, and then I think with Elite Dangerous, like, yeah, the only other DLC that they have is that Odyssey DLC. I don't think they have no other DLCs with the game. Yeah, I think that's just like with the developers and stuff, but they have it where it's like to get the DLC. It ain't even to get the deluxe edition. I think that's to get the DLC. Hold on for a second. Let me see if that comes with the They don't even say. It just says deluxe. I imagine it comes with the Odyssey DLC, but that's only $8. And then it's like to get and that's with the sale. Outside the sale, it's $24.99. So I'm like, honestly though, what sounds more reasonable? Spending $40 for an undeveloped video game, or spending $24.99 for a developed video game and its DLC that pretty much does the same exact stuff as Star Citizen? Yes, it might not be as detailed, but I'm like, it's around that same field. And I'm like, and then you got it where Spaceborne 2, that game ain't even got no DLCs or no like extra content that you gotta buy, but where is that? So to get the game right now so the only other DLC they have is a soundtrack, but to get that game while it's on sale, it's $11.99, and then to get it outside the sale is $19.99. So I'm like, honestly though, and that to me, that sounds mad crazy, where it's like you could get X4 Foundation, Elite Dangerous, and Spaceborne 2, and you could get the crazy thing about it is like you can eliminate all that stuff, right? You could go get the Xbox Game Pass and play Starfield for free. So it's like, yeah, it's just one of those things where I'm like, when you sit down and think of all the other space games, and these Spaceborne 2 is probably the only space game currently right now in early access, but Elite Dangerous, Starfield, and X4 Foundations, I'm like, all those games is out of early access. And they've been out, it's like, I don't even think, Elite Dangerous, I think X4 Foundation, that game was in early access. No, that game wasn't in early access, but Elite Dangerous was in early access. Starfield was in early access. I think all those games, they came out, and they just all came out. It wasn't like no early access thing, but, excuse me, but I'm like, my thing is this. Again, that question, it's like, to the people behind Star Citizen, what is your guys' excuse? It's like, it's just stuff like that just don't make sense to me and things. But anyways, then I looked up, because I know people are gonna probably be all like, oh, well, Star Citizen, it's a very detailed game. So it's, and I looked up, that was like the most detailed video games, and the games that popped up: Body Cam, Red Dead Redemption 2, Stalker 2, Intention, I have never heard of that game. Grand Theft Auto 6, I didn't know that game, it hasn't even came out yet, but I know that game's gonna be very detailed. Death Stranding, and I don't know why they have this game, because I was like, that game hasn't even released yet, but Unrecord. But anyways, and then some other games, they got the last God of War game to come out, Detroit Become Human. Spider-Man 2 was pretty good. I don't care whatever people say about that game. That I have to say, if there was a toss-up between Spider-Man 2 and Star Citizen, yeah, Spider-Man 2 by far wins that debate. But anyways, Batman Arkham Knight, Assassin's Creed Unity, Rise of the Tomb Raider, Resident Evil 4, and Warhammer 40,000 Space Marine 2. So I'm like, you got all these different video games that's out, and I'm like, and I don't think any of those video games, I think Batman Arkham Knight, it had like a bumpy start when it came out, but I'm like, none of them games, I think Body Cam is in early access, but other than that, all the other games, they're either not out yet, or they didn't have like no early access thing. So I'm like, that to me, it's just, yeah, it's stuff like that where I'm like, fam, again, Star Citizen. And so there's like, because I asked like the Star Citizen, what was the budget? So there was like the $650 million budget is for the 1,110 person company, start from nothing and not one by two AAA games. So yes, all right, hold on. Let me see what that full thing says. Yes and no. Anything after? Okay, no, I was like, I don't know what they were talking about. But anyways, for $650 million for a budget, and I'm like, fam, if you guys got a crowdfunded thing of $700 million, I'm like, fam, why do you guys need more money? If anything, Star Citizen should be free. Because I'm like, my thing is this: if I'm coming out with a video game, right? And I want to prove people wrong. I want to let people know I'm like, hey, I'm not scamming people. So I'm like, you know what? Anybody that wants to play the game, you very well could play the game right now. Game's going to be free. I'm like, then when it leaves out of early access, then people will have to pay for it. But if you want to just take a chance on, because there's been people that have done that with me. They've given me their games for free just so I can test the games out. And I'm like, fam, and I feel like that's more respectable than charging people $40. And then on top of that, we got to buy all this other extra stuff in the game. And it's like, fam, can we at least get a video game back in return? I'm just saying, it's like stuff like that. It just don't make no sense to me. Then I was like, how long should video games be in development? And there's like, most modern PC or console games take from 3 to 5 years to complete. Would Star Citizen's excuse 15 years? I'm like, that's not to me. I'm like, whereas mobile games can be developed in a few months, the length of development is influenced by a number of factors such as genre, scale, development platform, and number of assets. So I'm like, my thing is this: if you guys got to take out some things in the game just for the game's development to be sped up, then I'm like, okay, then do that. You know, but it's like, I think most people would rather play a video game where it's like we can actually enjoy it and not be on some stuff where it's like you got people out here talking about the game where they don't even like it and things. But and then I remember I asked that too just to see. I was like, was there ever a time where a PS2 game was in early access? And the funny thing is like I knew the answer to that, but I'm like, to just, I guess, because there are games from like back during the PlayStation 2 days where I'm like, yeah, there definitely ain't gonna be nowhere on the detailed level as Star Citizen. But I'm like, fam, you had it back then where, and that would be my question. I'm like, do you think that during that time frame, if Star Citizen had to come out, and even if it's like we're not even talking on PS2 games, but there was like PC games that came out too where it wasn't, because I'm trying to think, when did the early access program start for video games? Let's just see. So Steam early access program for video games launched March 20th, 2013. So I had to assume, so yeah, that was like when all that early access stuff started for video games. But I'm like, fam, my thing is like that people shouldn't overall be taking advantage of it. And I feel like that's what the Star Citizen developers are doing. You're taking advantage of the name early access. And it's like, do you guys think that during that time frame of where you had one time and one shot to release a video game, if you messed up, then it's like that video game was just going to pretty much be demolished by the gaming community? Do you guys think that Star Citizen during that time frame, do you think that they would have survived? Yeah, and I know people are gonna probably be all like, oh, well, the game's detailed. Okay, well then, yeah, let's just, lower the scale with the video game. Let's say it's still this space simulator, but it's not like this over-the-top detailed space simulator. But it's like still just where it's at right now. Do you think that the game would have survived back then? Because if you're trying to explain to a gamer, oh, the game's in pre-alpha, so you're just going to have to wait. Where most people that want to play a video game, they're trying to play it right then and there. They're not trying to wait on your guys' time to play the game. You didn't wait on taking the person's money, so why should we have to wait on playing a video game? I'm saying it's stuff like that where it's like, you guys got to like, please. It's just one of those things where it's like, look, you guys got 364 days to do something with Star Citizen. But it's like, if you guys ain't gonna do nothing with the game and then you're expecting this Squadron 42 thing to help it, I'm telling you right now, like, whenever Star Citizen does decide to release, I feel like it's gonna be a situation like the video game the day before. And for those, I think the last time I talked on Star Citizen, I did mention that game. But for those that didn't get a chance to see that video and you don't know what the day before is, the day before was this zombie survival. Well, we thought it was going to be a zombie survival game. But when the game came out, it ended up being a zombie extraction game. So, yes, people were upset about that because it's like, you guys made this promise of releasing this game and you released something else. What is this? I didn't ask for no zombie extraction game. Game came out, ended up getting it went from the most wish list game on Steam to the most overwhelmingly negative game on Steam. Like, I think they said, like, that was the worst rated video game. Let me just see real quick if it was. What was the worst rated game on Steam? I think it was the day before. Overwatch 2. Then it was the day before. And then it was some, like, other games. But I'm like, yeah, the day before was on that list. Because I'm like, yeah, that was... I remember people hyping that game up left and right. And I'm like, even it had me excited. Because I was like, I thought it was going to be something like the one video game... The Division, where it was pretty much set in that settings, but it's like they added zombies, and I'm like, oh, I already know when this game comes out, I'm playing it left and right. That's gonna probably be the one game where it's like, you know how you got the Call of Duty streamers, the Fortnite streamers, and I'm gonna be a day before streamer because I'm like, nah, that game looks mad fun. But yeah, the game came out, and then they ended up at the last minute making it into a zombie extraction game after delaying the game and doing all this other extra stuff that nobody didn't ask for. It's like, you guys could have very well released the same game that we seen in that trailer. People would have been happy about it, but you guys decided to release something else. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I was like, that game pretty much what happened, because I know people will probably be all like, oh, what happened to that game? So after it's like just pretty much like worldwide negative criticism, the developers decided that the best thing to do so they wouldn't face no lawsuits was to pretty much just like shut the game down, refund everybody their money back, and then they went into hiding. I guess they are trying to make a comeback with some video game that don't even look fun, and it's like, nah, you guys, it's probably for the best that y'all don't come out with no more video games, because you had an opportunity to do something with a video game and you didn't do nothing. So it's like, now how do you think people are supposed to feel about that? So that's what I'm saying. I'm like, look, to the Star Citizen developers, like I said, you guys got all of this year to do something productive with the game. Now, I know people will probably be asking me, what would those things be? All right. Lower the cost for stuff for once. For one, I'm like, because there ain't no reason for you guys to make $700 million, but you still charging all this money for stuff in the game, where I'm like, yeah, if it's in-game money, then it don't matter. I'm like, you just got to play the game, earn the money, and then you get whatever spaceship that you want to get and things. But do that, lower the cost for stuff in that game. What else? Add an offline mode. I'm not trying to hear nothing about no gaming PC not being able to run an offline mode, because I'm like, I'm not hearing that. I feel like I got a pretty decent gaming PC where I done played a lot of different video games, from some of the most complex video games all the way to a video game that ain't even that complex. All right, but I'm like, fam, I'm not hearing that with no, because I'm like, this game's been out for a while. If I'm able to play Elite Dangerous in an offline mode, No Man's Sky on an offline mode, I think it was with my last PC, but my last PC, it ain't really that, the specs of it ain't really much that, no, actually the PC that I'm using now is better than the last one, and I was able to play Starfield on that PC. So that's why I'm like, yeah, bruh, I'm not hearing nothing about, oh, the PC ain't gonna be able to manage it. No, I just think the reason why people don't want an offline mode, because they think it's gonna ruin their online experience. They ain't gonna be able to. I'm like, okay, well, fam, then you go get the game for a friend, so you and that friend can play Star Citizen all you guys want. But for me, I'm just trying to have a better experience. I'm not trying to have it where when I turn on the game, I gotta wait until, or end up being like the one guy that commented on my video, and I have to wait after 384 people queue into the game. I'm like, do you think when the Star Citizen developers took my money, did you think that they had to go to the bank and wait until 155 people went into the bank, handled their business, and then they were able to get my money? No, they instantly got my money. So I should instantly be able to play this game. But if that's not the case, then I had to say that what the future for this game is going to be. Now, I ain't going to say I'm like the best future predictor out there, but I am going to say this much. Times before where I've predicted the future of video games, usually that stuff comes true. So I'm just saying, I'm like, I think that with Star Citizen, the best thing that you guys got to do is that you guys start giving back this year. It should be like, okay, we gonna give back to the fans. We gonna give you guys some things. I think that could be a good thing too. It's like, all right, if you don't want to add no offline mode, if you don't want to do, then I'm like, give back to the fans. At least that. You know, it's like, to those that are still playing the game, you know, give us a spaceship, give us a bunch of different credit, give us weapons and a bunch of other different things in the game, you know, because I'm like, I had to like go out and do a mission just to get my first gun in the game. So I'm like, have it where it's like, you guys, it's like a monthly thing of just giving us stuff, you know, because it's like, that was one thing I was like, I'm going to take a chance on Star Citizen. I was that close to asking for my money back. And I actually went through the whole ticket process of getting my money back, but I decided at the last second, I was like, you know what? Nah. I'm like, I'm going to give this game a chance. So I'm just saying, I'm like, to those that are giving your guys' game a chance, give back to us. So at least then it's like, I'm not having to do videos like this. And I'm all like, I'm playing the game and I'm saying good things about the game, you know? So that's all I asked for. But anyways, with that being said, I will talk to y'all later. Thank you guys for watching. Like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and peace.